I've been in the maritime industry now for 15 years. I have worked with Inmarsat for 10 years, and before that I was working for Rolls-Royce. I've not always been in the maritime industry. I'm actually a qualified actuary, and I moved to Norway 15 years ago and decided to join the maritime industry. I guess the connection to the sea with Norway, both in terms of geography, history and economy, really meant that it was obvious I was going to move to the maritime industry. And I think with Inmarsat now, I do feel a sense of purpose and responsibility in keeping seafarers safe at sea. That's always been part of Inmarsat's remit. But also in keeping the global trade. Not many people know that 80% of trade is carried by sea transport. So I think it gives you a sense of purpose when you're dealing with the maritime industry to think about the social responsibility and just the global mobility aspect of the maritime industry. I think there's been a lot of disruption in terms of connectivity in the recent years, both in terms of the levels of connectivity as well as how it's delivered to vessels. So I think that right now, people are starting to think of vessels as floating homes, but soon they'll see that they can use that level of connectivity for much more. And the concept of floating offices will be prevalent soon, I think, with the level of disruption that we're seeing in connectivity. And really that will leapfrog us into more automated vessels and autonomous vessels in the future. Because, we've been talking about autonomous vessels for a long time, but I think because of the connectivity levels of disruption that we see there, it's going to leapfrog us to that position. And in terms of satellite connectivity, I think in the world of autonomous vessels, we really have to think about resilience, about always-on connectivity, cybersecurity. All these things will mean much more in the context of an autonomous vessel. So I think that's the type of disruption that we'll see in the maritime industry. And we'll have to think differently because there'll be machines on these vessels running those vessels. So in terms of connectivity, you have to think about having that level of connectivity on all the time. You have to think about upload speeds rather than download speeds, because machines are not really interested in streaming movies, right? So it's going to be a paradigm shift for sure. Yes, I think in terms of the speed of change, we had in the past the internet changing a lot of things. People are finding it, just second nature to do Google searches. I think in the same way that speed of change is going to change completely in the maritime industry as well. And we're going to see people using it in a totally different way. AI, all the multiple technologies that we have today, like cloud computing, AI, like I said, and also quantum computing. That's going to mean that vessel owners will have to change how they look at adopting these and adopt them much quicker than they have been in the past. In terms of what Inmarsat is doing, we've really thought about the speed of change and adapted to those technologies by our new service called Nexus Wave. It's our multi-band, multi-orbit, high-speed internet service. We're very proud of it. We just launched it this year, and we've had very positive feedback from it. But the main connection to digitalization and emerging technologies is that we've thought through how this service works in the sense that we haven't just slapped on a LEO service and said, okay, that's your new service. What we've done is really thought about how we can use it in the perspective of digitalization. So for example, we have separated out the corporate network, the crew network, as well as the operational network. And this enables the ship owner and ship manager to really optimize the applications that they use for different use cases. As an example, if for example the customer wants to use HoloLens, having 3D HoloLens where you're not getting a service engineer on board to do maintenance, but they're doing it from shore and using some kind of HoloLens. That could be an example. So then they would use the operation network, and we would optimize it so that we're using a low latency network in that case, because for that application, that makes sense. So using the right networks for the right applications. And that is how we've adapted our service to really try and cater for these different digitalization applications. I think in the next 5 to 10 years, the maritime industry will be very AI driven. I think I read a statistics just the other day that in 2025, there'll be 463 exabytes of data being produced every day. Just to put that into perspective, that's like saying every single person on Earth would be streaming 250,000 movies a day, just to give you context. So there's going to be so much data, right? And I think that the challenge in the next 5 to 10 years will no longer be about acquiring or storing or collecting data, but really about making sense of that data. What are we going to do with that data to really drive business growth? I think the companies that do adopt a clean strategy about how they use this, how they make sense of that data, those are the ones that are going to survive and thrive in the next 5 to 10 years.